Hey, what's going on guys? Jace Cards here, coming at you with a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. And yes, as you can probably guess, we are gonna go over my Odd Eyes Pendulum deck. Now, you see, funny story, I was organizing cards, going through my collection, putting some things up on eBay, going through decks, seeing what I could maybe break apart or maybe kind of revamp, and like at the bottom of my collection, covered in dust, I found my old Odd Eyes deck. And I looked at it for a minute and I was like, huh, you know, this deck used to be super good, super competitive, but just now with all the newer things and newer cards and everything, this deck is very rogue and not very competitive, unfortunately, with the current game state. But regardless, I still love the Odd Eyes archetype. I love the artwork. I just think they all synergize pretty well. So I thought, why not go through this Odd Eyes deck? Let's test it out online. Let's get some new cards in here. Let's try to build it so it can do something in 2020. So I did the best I could. We got an Odd Eyes deck built, and you know, I've always loved pendulums. It kind of sucks that no one's really using them anymore nowadays, but I still love like Odd Eyes and Endymion. I have an Endymion spell counter deck that I will probably profile. So I thought this week for a couple videos, we will do some pendulum deck profiles, show some love to pendulum cards and pendulum decks. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. So if you guys are fans of Odd Eyes or pendulums, hopefully this deck profile will be entertaining and useful to you. So let's just jump into the deck profile. All right, so starting off with definitely one of the most important cards of the deck, 3 Arc Pendulum Dragon. So if an Odd Eyes monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon an Odd Eyes monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Alright, so after that, 2 copies of Persona Dragon. Basically, it lets you bring out Persona Dragon from your Pendulum Zone if a Odd Eyes monster you control was targeted by your opponent, and then you can place another Odd Eyes monster into that Pendulum Zone. So that's pretty useful. Then 2 copies of Phantom Dragon. This is honestly like my new favorite. It burns your opponent for 1200 for each Odd Eyes in your Pendulum Zone, so this can be great if you're in time or if you're looking to OTK. It can, I mean, between its attack and then burning for damage, it can do like 4900 damage. So yeah, this card's great. Basically what you want to do with this deck is either try to OTK or do as much damage as possible in a turn and hopefully you win in a few turns. Or you can play the grind game and just go into your Vortex Dragon and kind of just play it out and hopefully get into your bigger boss monsters over time. But yeah, this deck, there's really not a lot of strategy to it anymore. It's a rogue deck, and hopefully you get to go second and just try to break your opponent's board and attack for a bunch of damage. So if you like decks like that, definitely try this out. I'm a fan. I can't really complain too much. So yeah, 2 copies of Phantom Dragon. Then we have the 1 OG Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. This card is not that great. It's nice because you do have the name, but there's just a lot better Odd Eyes cards besides the original, which is really funny. Like in Blue Eyes decks, you have to play Blue Eyes White Dragon, like multiple copies. And in Red Eyes decks or Dark Magician decks, you know, you have to play the main card, like 3 copies each. This deck, no, you could play 0 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. I'm still playing the 1. I do like it. It's nice, but just basically because of the name and it's what the whole deck is based on. So I thought I'd show a little respect and play the 1 copy. I've seen deck profiles where they play 3 copies and it's like, what is you doing? Come on now. And then we have the 1 Odd Eyes Dissolver and the Odd Eyes Synchron. This is your tuner. It's got some other useful effects too, but that's it for the Odd Eyes monsters. Moving on to more just pendulum and dragon type support. We have the 3 Dark Worm, which combos with the 2 copies of Gate Zero. Now, the other fun part of this deck that I really like, and cards that I go into quite a bit, I do have the Mythical Beast package. So we have 3 copies of Cerberus. This is honestly like one of the main boss monsters of the deck. In my Endymion deck, I play Cerberus as well. And I mean, Endymion and Cerberus are like your main boss monsters. Now, I don't have Endymion in this deck. I did try to go for like as pure of a Odd Eyes type deck that I could. The Mythical Beast package helps out a lot. And then to go with the Cerberus, we have, of course, the 2 Jackal King and just the 1 Jackal. Now, for our spellcasters and our other magicians, I guess, we have Chronograph Sorcerer and the Time Gazer Magician. I mean, we all know Chronograph is amazing, and Time Gazer protects your scales, which is great. People kind of forget about that effect, but still very useful. And then the last monster, just generic dragon support, I do play the 1 Tempest. It's easy to bring out with this deck, and it's a level 7, which can be useful if you're going to overlay or do something else. So that's it for the monsters. Let's move on to the spells. Alright, so for the field spells, I play 3 copies of Sky Iris. This card is amazing. It protects your monsters, it lets you search out your Odd Eyes cards. This card is great. You really want to see it in your opening hand or basically as soon as possible. And yeah, you definitely want to play 3. I do play the 1 Dragon Ravine as well, and of course the Terraforming. Terraforming, most of the time, you're going to search out your Sky Iris if you don't have it already, but Dragon Ravine is good as well for if you're desperate. And then 3 copies of Spiral Flame Strike. This card's great because you can either pop a card on the field or basically search out a level 7 Odd Eyes from your deck and add it to your hand, or from your extra deck and add it to your hand if it's a pendulum. And it's not once per turn, which is really cool. So yeah, definitely want to play 3 copies of Spiral Flame Strike. Then 2 copies of Dragon Ravine. 2 copies of Allure of Darkness. I think every card in the deck is dark, so there you go. And 1 copy of Duelist Alliance. I originally had 2, but basically with Duelist Alliance, I usually just go for the Arc Pendulum Dragon, and there's other ways to get him, and you have multiple copies, so sometimes you do see it fairly quick. So I cut it down to the 1, and it's been working out great. It's nice to have that search ability, but 2 or 3 I don't really think is needed. And then lastly, the 1 Foolish Burial. So that's it for the main deck. It is 40 cards. Let's move on to the extra deck. Alright, so for the extra deck, starting off with the fusions, 2 copies of Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. This card's still very powerful. It can really be annoying for your opponent, and you do want to get this out as soon as possible and just start kind of grinding with it. And once it's on the field, your opponent can have a pretty tough time with it. So most of the time it's just chilling out there. For the last fusion, I do play the Gatling Ghoul. This card you can make using your Dissolver, and it's just good for more burn damage. Great for if you're going into time, and it's a 2900 attack monster, which is good. For the Exceeds, I do play the 1 Rebellion Dragon and Absolute Dragon, of course. And I do play a number 11. This card's really great. Super easy to make with all the level 7s you play, and just being able to take control of an annoying monster is nice to have. Moving on to the synchros, I have the 1 Meteor Burst Dragon as well as 1 Crystal Wing, both just very powerful dragon monsters. Of course, Meteor Burst being an Odd Eyes card, and then Crystal Wing just being a great generic synchro. And then for the links, I have the 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice. Again, like everything is dark, so getting that extra boost can be pretty useful. Then for the Guard Dragon package, I do play Pisty and Elpie, and then of course we have the Hieratic Seal and Triple Burst Dragon. The Guard Dragons are still really great. I mean, you can play them in a lot of different decks, so why not play it in an Odd Eyes deck? And then for our, I guess, more boss monsters, boss type link monsters, I have the 1 Borreload Dragon. It's Borreload, I mean, this card's really great. And then the 1 Saryuja. So there you guys have it. That is my Odd Eyes deck profile. Hopefully you guys found it fun and interesting. Stay tuned because I think later on this week we will cover Endymion and my spell counter deck. Just like I said, this week I thought we'd show some love to the lost type of card known as Pendulum. If you guys enjoy this, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more. That really helps me out. Stay tuned for more Yu-Gi-Oh related videos such as deck profiles, openings, and news videos. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out and have a good one.